Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Tehillim Treasures, where we go through the entirety of Sefer Tehillim, from the beginning till the very end, timeless words of David HaMelech giving Chazaq to everyone in Klal Yisrael. This episode is sponsored by Chazaq, who provides after-school programming and Sunday programming for over 15 different locations throughout the New York area. And they are helping children go to yeshiva. They have a special division called Public Schools to Yeshiva, PSTY program that has been very, very successful in transforming the lives of countless Yiddish kinderlich. If you know anyone that is in need, please let us know. You can join helping the over 1,200 children who have benefited from this program. The number is 718-285-9132 or psty@chazaq.org. This evening's episode is sponsored by chickensforshabbos.com, where chickensforshabbos.com is helping many families of grushas, agunas, and melamdim who cannot afford basic needs. Try to imagine for a moment not having the necessary funds to be able to pay for your basic needs. Please help them at chickensforshabbos.com. Your dollar will go a long, long way. Tonight, we continue on this journey with Kapitel Ayin Gimel and Kapitel Ayin Daled, the 73rd and 74th chapters of David HaMelech's Timeless Treasures. Mizmor Ayin Gimel begins a series of the chapters that were composed by Asaf. Asaf was from the great composers, from the great Meshorim in Sefer Tehillim in the Beis HaMikdash. And we begin with Mizmor LaAsaf, Ach Toiv Li Yisrael Alekim. He begins that everything Hashem does is good. Sometimes we don't know it. Sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes we can swear that what we're looking at is very bad, but really, it's very good. Ach toiv li Yisrael Alekim. Hashem only does what's good for the Jewish people. And I want to tell you something. We've mentioned it many, many times throughout Tehillim. And to tell you the truth, wherever I go, I try to mention it because it's something that's given me much strength. If you can live with two truths, then everything in life becomes not only manageable, but it makes sense. And that is number one, nothing can happen in this world without Hashem orchestrating every little dot. Everything that happens in this world happens only because Hashem decided and determined it should happen. Number two, Hashem never, ever, ever will do anything to hurt his children, to hurt you, to hurt me. So therefore, even if something we know for sure it's not good for us, or at least we think, it is good for us. It's for our good. Doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to smile and laugh. You might cry, but it's for your good. Case in point, a child might be standing in a street and there's a car speeding by and somebody runs by and grabs the child, pulls him and yanks him off the street. And the child's arm is hurting and the parent yells at that child, "Don't you ever do that again." It's for your good. Not only did it save your life this time, but it teaches you to never ever do that again, because if you do, chas v'shalom, you can lose your life, you can get hurt terribly. So sometimes the yank and the pull and the push and the clap, it's for our very good. We just don't realize it. A story that took place with Rabbi Yechiel Spero, the beginning of World War II. And unfortunately, the Germans, Yamach Shemam, were charging top dollar for train fare. And he received letters from his friends in Bialystok, from his family in Bialystok, that life was wonderful over there. We know how wonderful it was. It wasn't so wonderful. But the Germans were trying to extort as much money as possible from the Jews, and therefore people were begging to buy train tickets. They were giving everything they had. They were selling all of their worldly possessions to get on that train, because that train was a ticket to life. And not getting on that train meant you wouldn't live, you would die. And he tried desperately, but Rabbi Yechiel Spero was not able to secure a ticket to get onto that train. Oy. He watched all of the fortunate individuals. He watched with jealousy as they were able to board the train, and they all got on. And they looked at the others who were not able to get on with pity. And as it pulled away, he thought, he had this sinking feeling in his stomach, oh, what's going to be? Until 1 hour later, the train returned to Vilna. And when it did, the Germans rounded up 10 men. 10 men to bury a trainload of people that had been shot in cold blood. The train that everyone was certain was going to life was a train that was heading to death. Rabbi Yechiel Spero realized a timeless lesson. Don't think that the train that is heading towards what you think is real life and success and beauty and riches, don't think that's the train you have to get onto. Follow the footsteps that Hashem prepares for us. He prepares the steps of man. Don't fight the plan. Walk with him, and everything will be good. We move on to Kapitel Ayin Daled. Again, the composer of the chapter of Tehillim is Asaf. And Asaf, maskil Asaf, Lama lekim zonachta lanetzach. Why, Hashem, have you abandoned us for eternity? What seems like eternity. We're talking about almost 2,000 years in Golus. It's been a very, very long, dark, and bitter Golus. But this, as we said, is the 74th chapter of Tehillim. And the number 74 should give us a hint as to what this kapitel is telling us. Hashem has given us the strength to persevere despite the fact that Golus has lasted so long. And therefore, we must realize that there is strength to be found everywhere. We say every day, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Ayin, a large ayin at the end of Shema, a large dalid at the end of Echad, that spells the word aid. We are witnesses. We are able to testify about the oneness of Hashem, about the truth of Hashem. There are 74 days between Yom Kippur and the beginning of Hanukkah. 74 days of winter. 74 days of cold, dark night. And then comes Hanukkah. After the 74th last night, it's illuminated with an Amud Eish, with a fire that leads us, Lahoyer Lahem, that illuminates our ways and that gives us guidance and light. And Abu Draham explains that these bookends of Shema teach us that Hashem is going to allow us to witness and to bear testimony to His oneness, even in the darkest moments, even when everything seems hopeless and the world is full of despair. One of the most magnificent stories that came out of Eretz Yisrael in the last 75 years is the story when the 2 bus was bombed. The 2 bus was coming back from the Kaisel Maravi on a Motzoi Shabbos. And on that bus were Kedoshim Utahirim. It was full of Torah Yidden. And right outside of the Mir Yeshiva, right in the Beis Yisrael neighborhood, the bomb exploded. And Nebuch, there were 7 children, 16 adults killed, and 130 people injured. Amongst them was a woman by the name of Mrs. Goldie Taubenfeld, a tzaddikus from Square. Her son, Shmuel, a tiny little infant, was killed along with her. Her husband was there in Eretz Yisrael, and now they had to go, and someone had to break the news to the family. Who was chosen? It was the older sister. And I heard this from Rebbetzin Bryony Fried in Cleveland. And she told me that this is what the girl did. She was a girl. She was a single, older teenage girl. And she gathered the children together and she said, Kinderlach. The Rabbeinu Shalom looked throughout the entire world And he looked and searched for a family that would be strong enough to be able to withstand their mother being taken to die al Kiddush Hashem. And he looked all over the world. And he chose us. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Our emunah bears witness to the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs this world. There are dark moments when we think, Lama Elokim Zonachta Lanetzach, why Hashem have you forsaken us? But when we hold on tightly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the darkest of times, then soon Bekara will be zoichet to see the fire and the light, not only of Chanukah, but the fire and light of Mashiach. Yitz Hashem, until next time, sei gesund.